All right, so let's go ahead and get this started. All right, so we have thunderstorms that are developing now. We've got actually our first severe thunderstorm warning of the day. We also have a severe thunderstorm watch that's up for most of our area into the evening hours. And as I've been saying, our main concern here is going to be big hail with these thunderstorms, northwest Texas and south and southwestern parts of Oklahoma. There's a front, a cold front, has slowly dropped south down into North Texas. And a lot of these storms are actually developing just north of the front. This is what we call undercutting. And what happens is these thunderstorms, they develop along the front, and then they go north of the front into the cooler air, so they don't have access at kind of the front. The cooler air kind of undercuts the updraft, so it doesn't have access to that real warm, moist air. So a lot of the you should have sound. I'm seeing sound on my end anyway. So check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. So what happens is when those storms don't have access to that warm, moist air at the Earth's surface, they become what's called elevated. They're elevated storms north of the front. Now, that's not going to be all storms this evening. We're going to see some that also have access to that warm, moist air at the Earth's surface. So these storms are going to be pretty gross, pretty nasty that we see this afternoon with very large hail threats. Maybe some winds if we can wind up getting a line of storms developing later on tonight. Overall, the tornado threat to me appears to be fairly low at this time. Not 100% zero, but it does appear to be fairly low. So let's talk about, without further ado, let's talk a little bit more about what's there. Can you see me? Okay. All right. So let's give me just a second. All right. We got an audio source there. All right. So here is the thunderstorms that we're tracking this afternoon. And as you can see, we have a severe thunderstorm warning if you live in northwest Texas or southwest Oklahoma. We have this severe thunderstorm warning that's up for Wilbarger and into Wichita, northwest Wichita County. That does not include Wichita Falls, up into Tillman County, and just kind of on the border of Cotton County. And it's for this thunderstorm that is currently moving into the northeastern parts of Wilbarger County. And if you look, there's some what they call these magenta colors, or little pink, white, black colors almost. That's a little bit of a hail core right along 287, just southeast of Vernon. And there could be some hail that perhaps gets up to the size of nickels there, and it is moving to the northeast, and it should move across northeastern Wilbarger and over into Tillman County. It looks to me like this cell, at least initially, while it might clip far northwestern Wichita County, it should stay, at least the initial cell, should stay northwest of Electra. So even though Electra is officially in this warning, it looks like the worst of that cell for now is staying northwest of you. If we look, there's other thunderstorms that are developing along this, along or just north of the frontal boundary, down towards Knox City, Gillian. Those two are moving to the northeast. And I'm going to show you where the front is in just a few minutes. And we can follow it northward, and there's some elevated thunderstorms up towards Lawton. Those are not severe at this time. And where the storms are elevated, the chances for the really large hail will be a lot lower. You still can see severe hail, typically up to the size of maybe quarters, maybe nickels, sometimes golf ball, but the real big hail typically is not seen with storms that are elevated. It can happen, but it just doesn't happen too often. So we'll be watching those storms along that line, and what I can do now is let's go in, and I'll show you where the front is. Give me just a second to access some of my radar data here. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to turn up the what's called decibel levels. All right, so look at this line you see on the radar. So Burkburnett is here, there's Electra, there's Vernon, Seymour, and this is our front located roughly in this area, right in there, okay? So, and there's an updated part of that severe thunderstorm warning just being updated by the Weather Service. So there's your front. Out ahead of it, it's real warm and humid in Wichita Falls and down towards Archer City. Any of these areas out in here are still warm and humid. It's a lot cooler with temperatures in the 60s currently in Vernon and 50s in Lawton at this time. So as you can see, these thunderstorms are north of that boundary. And that boundary really isn't moving a whole lot. It's kind of staying sort of stationary, if not slowly sagging to the south. It looks like Burke Burnett is right into or right underneath that front at this time. And as you can see, it's just not moving much. It's just kind of sitting there. It has sunk just south of Electra. It is north of Seymour and just north of Lake Kemp. So what some of our weather models are doing is a couple scenarios that can happen here. What our weather models are trying to do is, and look at those storms back towards Knox City. Those storms are developing along the boundary, maybe trying to move to the north a little bit, but they'll cross the front and they'll get undercut there too, so they won't have access to that air. But we have to watch out for will be these thunderstorms that try to get going in what's called the open warm sector out ahead of that front. These storms down this way have a chance to become more surface-based. And by surface-based, I mean they have access to that warm, moist air at the Earth's surface. That means they can suck in that warm, moist air, and it gives them a better chance to be more severe and produce that bigger hail. But as that front drops south of you, even though the chances for thunderstorms, elevated storms goes up, the chances for the really strong to severe stuff kind of goes down a little bit. And what I expect to happen is there's a couple scenarios. It looks to me like this front is going to continue to ever so slowly sag south of this evening, and maybe later on this evening kind of be located down into this area south of Wichita Falls, kind of north of Archer City, kind of down this way later on this evening. But there's also another scenario. We have a little area of low pressure that's developing, a little storm center that's developing over us today. And as that happens, you get a bit of a counterclockwise circulation around these little storm systems, and that can cause a front to either stall or even move back north a little bit. So that's a possible scenario, but again, I think the best scenario will be for that front to sag south down into North Texas this evening. Still looks like mostly a hail threat. Now, if the front can become stationary, and the limiting factor to a bigger severe weather event with this is the fact that we just don't have a lot of spin in the lowest levels of the atmosphere. Above the Earth's surface, up there in the clouds where the storms are located, there's really strong winds, really strong flow with the jet stream. But then you jump below that, and the area between the bottom layer of the clouds and the Earth's surface, there's just not a lot of strong winds there. So you don't have a lot of turn or a lot of spin in that area. So that limits your tornado potential. I mean, if you can still get real strong supercells that have access to that warm, moist air, you can still get tornadoes, especially if it gets strong enough, but usually they're brief and they're weaker. And another scenario is as we see a storm center develop, and if the boundary can become stationary and thunderstorms can ride that boundary, that kind of changes the game in a small scale. And the circulation, there's a lot of circulation along a frontal system, a lot of different wind currents and circulations, but it tends to increase the wind shear, and it tends to offset the lack of strong or low-level wind shear over a larger area. So over the front, if it can ride that, it ingests a lot of what we call vorticity, and that too can offset the lack of stronger winds in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, so you wind up still having a tornado threat there. So it looks low to me, not at zero. I'm not too concerned with that, but we'll certainly keep a watchful eye out for that this afternoon and this evening. But again, our main threat is hail as that front slowly sags to the south. We can take a look at let's look at the high resolution rapid refresh model. Once again, here's my outlook just in case you missed it. And I really hadn't changed that much. I've moved the front a little bit. Somebody asked me earlier today about why is that front associated with the low pressure system? Shouldn't that be a warm front? Well, I mean, usually out ahead of an area of low pressure, you usually have a warm front with a dry line or a front or a cold front or something extending south from there. But in this type of situation, since the storm is just trying to develop over us, we really don't have a warm front with it. It's mostly just a cold front dropping south. You got that denser thunderstorm air, cooler air pushing that front south. You have area of low pressure that tries to develop along it. But that storm center itself, this little L, the low pressure, which is the storm, the surface storm that is, doesn't really get its act together until it gets east of us. So it's probably going to be a pretty big tornado event tomorrow afternoon and evening over into Arkansas, Louisiana, and western and central Mississippi. Could be pretty significant over that way, and I'll be keeping an eye on that. Remember, I'm from that area, and I'm going to probably try to do some coverage on that one too. But for now, we're focused on our area here and what's going to take place. Now, here's something too, that this is the HRRR computer model. You hear me talk about that a lot. This is as of 3:30. This should have been at 3:30 this afternoon. It shows all those thunderstorms over us, and it doesn't even show the storms back in here. So it tells me right away that the HRRR computer model is not doing a very good job with storm placement on this. But I'll show you the forecast, and it does show some big supercells developing this evening, either along or just north of that frontal boundary. Now, those will be intense over towards Vernon, and if that solution plays out, and there will probably be a big supercell or two somewhere in our area, then the hail threat gets bigger. That's when you start worrying about the golf ball and larger size hail. And again, if they're real intense and they can interact with that frontal boundary, we can't rule out something that might try to spin up along it as well. And there it is. You can see everything tries to line out as it moves towards Wichita Falls later on this evening. And as you get a line, heavy rainfall, maybe a little smaller hail, maybe, and there still could be some bigger hail embedded in within that. But when you get a line, a lot of times you wind up starting to see the wind threats increase some. And then later tonight, as the storm itself begins to shift eastward, you see that line, another line push on through. And then by tomorrow morning, a lot of that shifts east of us. And the question will be, will there be some hit and miss stuff around tomorrow afternoon? It is certainly possible, but it doesn't look like a lot. So for right now, we're more concerned. Here's your severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect this evening. But we'll watch these storms to see what they do. Now, I've got to go get ready for the weather forecast that takes place here in about an hour. So I got to go get a little forecasting together. And the way I'm going to cover severe weather events here tonight will be with that's not. Let's go full me. Let's go with the chat. Why don't we do that? Let's pull up a chat real fast so you guys can ask some questions if you want to. But the way I'm going to cover it is with since we've got basketball game on News Channel 6, and don't get me wrong, if it is something urgent, we certainly will cover up over any type of programming. Okay. But as long as it's not too urgent, we will do most of our stuff here on my Facebook Live page, and I will share it to the News Channel 6 page for a little while. Between 7 and 8 o'clock, we have a paid sponsorship with the doctor, and that's with United Regional, and they're going to be doing some stuff, and that's important to the station and important to you too. So we're going to keep that going unless there's something just earth-shattering, something that's really, really urgent. We're going to stick with that, and I will do the updates over here on my page, and I will share it to the News Channel 6 page so you can watch it there too if you want to. You can find it. You have to remember to turn your alerts on, your notifications on, because they certainly you won't get the notifications that I'm on live unless you have those turned on. Remember, I think you take I think it's a little bell there. I think you click it and notifications cut on. I think that's how it works. Yes, you are getting it in Vernon, Penny. You are definitely going to get it there. You're actually the storms are just east of you, but I don't know how bad. It just depends on what that frontal boundary. You're north of the frontal boundary now, so you're actually seeing a bit of a northeasterly wind, and it's turning a little cooler. So that kind of limits the severe weather threats there, but you still have a chance for some hail there at least. Another thing that we might do is if we do need to do cut-ins on News Channel 6, they'll be over national commercial breaks. And then we might do a box where if we have to do wall-to-wall coverage where you see me in one box and you have the game on the other, kind of a split screen type thing. So we're going to do our best not to cover up your basketball games tonight. It's Week 16. People want to watch their games. I get it. And we don't want to take away from our local advertisers as well. Yeah, you guys don't need to have storm anxiety with this, Amanda. I mean, this is not a higher tornado threat. No, it's not. I mean, I'm not going zero. I'm not saying that won't happen, but this is not a big tornado. We don't have a lot of spin in the atmosphere. Remember, to get tornadoes, you have to have spin, some way to get that spin down to the Earth's surface. And unless you got a big turning wind, a strong turning wind from the Earth's surface up to the bottom layer of the cloud, it's real hard to get that spin down to the Earth's surface. Now, sometimes storms can get strong enough and still overcompensate for that. And with the boundary in the area, if it stalls, that can kind of compensate for it some too. But this is not a big tornado threat. This is mostly a hail threat. Now, if anything changes, and sometimes small-scale stuff changes, and it can happen, I'll let you know. But remember my motto: if I'm scared, if I'm nervous, I don't get scared about this. This stuff doesn't scare me. But if I'm concerned, then you should be too. Right now, I'm just not that concerned. Yeah, I'm intrigued, but I'm not that concerned. So, you can't always go on what Reed, Timmer, and all those guys say. I like Reed. Reed is a great dude. Don't get me wrong; he's a good meteorologist. But remember, if you watch me, this is what I'll tell you about people like Reed. And I'm not putting Reed down. Like I say, he's passionate about what he does. He's a good guy, a great meteorologist. But those guys make their living on social media, and they make a lot of money off of it. So the more people they have watching, that's what the Facebook, YouTube, they pay you. They start paying their people when there's X amount of subscribers or there's X amount of people watching them at that time. They make money. People donate money to them. They make a lot of money doing it too. I mean, it's smart. It's not dumb. But, I mean, do we really need to be throwing those words out there? I don't think so. When you start talking about tornadoes, if you cry wolf all the time, people just eventually stop believing you, okay? But if I throw the word out, tornado outbreak, it's going to catch your attention and you're going to watch me. I say severe storms, little hell, we'll have 126 viewers. But not compared to what those guys have. Those guys have thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of followers even. They're making good money off this stuff, though, so. He's crazy, but like I say, I like Reed. Reed is a good guy. He's very animated. He's a great forecaster, a smart businessman. He lives the dream. He gets to chase storms. What he loves to do. He gets to chase storms for a living. He's making money off of it. And after he chases here today, he goes east tomorrow and catches the real deal over in Mississippi. So, and there's some other good ones out there. Ryan Hall, he does it right. He's a great streamer, but he's another one that's going to, try to pull you in so he can get more viewers and get his money. It's all a part of their business plan, and it works. I can't blame them. It works. So it's just like I say on here. My motto is not to scare you. My motto is to help you with storm anxiety, with education and being real, keeping it real with you folks. That's where my motto is. That's what I aim to do. I'm going to do the opposite of what those other guys do. And I'm going to play it up when I need to, play it down when I don't. All right, so this afternoon I do have a couple storm chasers out. We got Garrett is out. He's actually was over towards Electra. He ran across the front, and he's coming back actually now. I've also got another guy out that I'm going to be using today to do some stuff with. So we'll be playing around with him. His name, Ethan Gonzalez, I think. I'm sorry. And Ethan, if you're watching, I do apologize. I don't mean to get your name wrong, but he will be doing some chasing for us this storm season. He's a part of my Chaser network. So Ethan's going to be, I think it's Ethan Gonzalez, I think. Ethan, I'm sorry. Let me Google it real fast because I don't want to. All right, Ethan Gonzalo. He's a local storm chaser. So he'll be, we're actually going to do some collaborations this evening. He'll be on with me. We'll have Garrett on some, and who knows, I may even have other people on as well. So, all right, I've got to go do some stuff to get ready for the newscast. It's 4:07 right now. We'll have updates off and on throughout the afternoon and evening. Remember to watch us over on News Channel 6 at 5 o'clock. There is no 6 o'clock newscast tonight because of basketball. And then the 10 o'clock newscast probably doesn't go on until 10:30 or 11 o'clock. So our coverage will be on Facebook Live, all my streaming platforms. I'm on everything now. I mean, I don't know anything about Twitch. I don't know anything about what is it, Trovo, TrueView, or Trovo, or something like that. But I'm on them, so I'm on there. I'm even on Discord. I have no clue as to what to do with Discord, no clue, but I'm on there, so you can find me. If you can't find me, it's gonna. I mean, you should be able to find me somewhere. So, all right. So I know there's a lot of questions, and I need to take the time to answer those questions. I just don't have time to right now. I got to go do some stuff, but I will be back on. Watch for the notifications. Be looking for them. I will have updates throughout the remainder of the afternoon and the evening.